Now you touched on your past a little bit. Just go ahead and tell everyone again where you're from, and then you don't have to go into grand detail, but sort of what who Dana is from where, how she got here.
Pre-Nashville.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in a little tiny town in southern Ohio, in Lucasville, Ohio, and actually a little part of Lucasville called Clarktown, Ohio. People joke about not only having one red light, and we didn't have any red lights. We had a supermarket that's closed now at the end of the street, and we had a volunteer fire department right across from that. And that was pretty much it. Mm-hmm. And my dad was on the fire department there.
Nice.
So yeah, he's a jack of all trades. Yeah, so I grew up there in southern Ohio, and grew up performing with my family's bluegrass band. My dad and my aunt and uncle have a band, and they did a lot of bluegrass standards, but also country songs that they just kind of grassed up.
Mm-hmm.
It was just lots of Keith Whitley. Well, Keith did bluegrass too, but or like Earl Thomas Conley is from
mm-hmm.
Portsmouth, Ohio, where we're from, and friends of the family, and so they would work up a couple of his songs. Only, of course, there wouldn't be drums.
Yeah.
Just the bluegrass instrumentation to a lot of those '80s, late '70s and '80s country songs.
So, because of your family influence, which is pretty heavily bluegrass based, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what brought you into the world of music and country and bluegrass right from the get-go.
Even before my dad and my aunt and uncle, my grandfather was a musician. He could play anything with strings. His main instruments were guitar and banjo, and we even have pictures of my great-grandmother in Sandy Hook, Kentucky in the 1920s with a little tenor guitar. So I like to say I'm a fourth generation musician.
Hey, that's great. So based on that info, what is it about your past that impacts your future on a daily basis? Like, how is that helping direct you where you are now?
Oh gosh, just family in general. I mean, I was so lucky growing up to have that encouragement, and it wasn't. My parents were always real encouraging growing up, but when you tell them that you actually want to pursue this as a career, it's not always settling for parents to hear that their child wants to be part of the music business. That's not it's not stable, and they just don't want you to get hurt.
Yeah.
So that was a big move and a big hump to get over when I first moved to Nashville. But in the back of my mind, I just have my grandpa in my thoughts every day, because he was an aspiring songwriter, and I've showed you a lot of his lyrics, and we even wrote a song with some of his. Ronnie co-wrote with my grandpa, who died in 1992.
Me, you, and Pappy.
Yeah. So, which is so cool, and I have letters that he would send when he'd finish a song. He'd send it to the copyright office in DC, and he would try to send cassette tapes to Nashville and stuff. And I still have a lot of that. And it was kind of a life happen thing where he was in the Army, and he served, and then got married, and they had 4 kids, and he never made it down here to live and to really pursue it. So I just I have him on my mind every day, and
sort of a driving force in some ways for you, huh?
It is. It definitely is.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really amazing when we can have stories in our life, family, people that give us that kind of drive and hope.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, what are your, we'll keep it on a smaller level. What are your goals for this year?
For this year, to get a publishing deal.
Okay.
And/or record deal.
Those are the main biggies.
Those have been the biggies since I moved here, and it still hasn't happened, but those are still the biggies. And, things, God gives you little gifts here and there, and he does allow you to achieve your goals and dreams, even though it might not be exactly the way you had hoped or planned or thought it would be. But I got a phone call yesterday. I don't get to sing at the event or anything, but it's just kind of weird and ironic. Of course, for any female singer, especially country, one of their biggest idols is Patsy Cline.
Sure.
and just her legacy and the Grand Ole Opry and how that's still carried out, and Minnie Pearl out there. Well, they the Opry hosts, you can rent out the Studio A, back where they used to film Hee Haw, the Crook and Chase show, behind the stage. So they have corporate events back there all the time, and I was asked to play Patsy Cline at a corporate event at the Opry House.
That's awesome.
In a couple weeks, so
as like sort of like an acting role, right?
Yeah, I would just be acting for the night. I'm not singing or anything, but isn't, you know?
Yes, like
sometimes I pray, Lord, please let me perform at the Opry someday. And although I'm not going to be standing in the circle singing and performing, I am going to be performing at the Opry House. So it's just weird how he throws you things like that.
Absolutely, and sort of that's a good segue to my last question. And before I go there, I mean, thank you so much for sitting down.
Oh,
yes.
This guy.
Me and Dana are very close friends, and
brother from another mother.
That's right. And so I wish Dana the very best in everything that she does.
Too.
And, but based on what you were just saying, like, how is your faith affect your everyday life as a songwriter and as an artist? I mean, I know it affects your whole life, but
yeah, and we've already touched on too how crazy this business can be, and how people will just take advantage of you and just eat you alive and steal all your money. And I'm sure, you know, people out there watching this right now already have their own horror stories of the music business. But I was real lucky. When I first moved here, I had a job on the row, and I was laid off in December. It was right before Christmas. It was awful. I just thought, you know, I didn't think about moving home, but I just, you know,
it was definitely.
I had been on cloud nine ever since I got there, and I had this cool gig, and I was meeting and interviewing artists, and, you know, just living the life down here. And I thought Nashville was just so glittery and great, but then I get laid off in December, and for 3 months I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I was still with the Titans at the time, with cheerleading stuff, so that kept me busy and could make some money here and there, but I was drawing unemployment and waiting for something else to come in. And I had an interview at the International Bluegrass Music Association with Dan Hayes. He was still over it at the time, and they needed a publicity and PR person, and I interviewed for that job and wasn't really quite qualified for it yet. But he sent my stuff to Steve Day, who was the GM of Skaggs Family Records at the time, Ricky Skaggs' label. And anyway, went through a series of interviews and talk about, you know, me being laid off and those 3 months being my lowest. I mean, what a blessing in disguise, because Ricky, he provided my childhood soundtrack pretty much. You know, my dad being a mandolin player like him, and you know, him working and being close friends with Keith Whitley, and Keith being from Sandy Hook, where my grandmother's family's from, and you know, it just all came together, and I've always looked up to him, but working for him, he taught me so much, not only about music, but how you can be a strong Christian and keep your faith and keep your integrity and still be successful in this business. So,
and on that note,
yeah, I'm just so lucky to have had that experience with him, and I just, you know, because it's party all the time, and you move here and you think that's, you know, you have to roll with that crowd to be,
to get somewhere.
Yeah, to be in the know and to get with the right people, but you don't have to do that at all. And
at least in Nashville, for sure.
Yeah. So you can definitely find another way.
And that's what we'll try to do, Dana.
Always.
Well, thank you again, Dana. And
thank you.
We're gonna have just all sorts of more information in the blog, which you can read, and we'll have places where you can find Dana and her music. So, thank you again.
Thank you.
and we'll see you next time. Bye.
This carousel